Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some consequences for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Posted to Consequences by Dickie Anders. Originally posted to r/bestof by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Am I the Asshole Cat Obsession, posted to r/Am I the Asshole and r/AskVet, posted March 30th, 2021. Am I the asshole for calling out my girlfriend over her cat obsession? I'm not kidding. My 36 male, girlfriend 35 female, is obsessed with her cat 10 male, if you're interested, dating for 3 years, living together for 2. Since the pandemic, I've been home a lot more, and I've realized just how cat-crazed my girlfriend really is. They do everything together. She doesn't need an alarm because he wakes her up at 7:30 every day by sitting on her chest and gently nudging her face with his nose. He eats his breakfast while she eats hers. If we're watching TV, he's in her lap. If she's working at her desk, he's in her chair with her, or chilling nearby. If he acts even a little weird, like hiding in the closet, which I guess he normally doesn't do, she's on the phone to the vet. She even takes him for walks with a little harness that I used to think was kind of cute, until I realized it just meant her obsession would not just be limited to inside the house. Don't get me wrong, I like the cat. He's a chill cat, doesn't mess stuff up around the house, very friendly and clean, but sometimes I would like to have my girlfriend to myself. I've tried closing the bathroom door at night, but the little Houdini got in somehow. I woke up to him smiling at me smugly from atop my girlfriend's tits. Anytime I mention toning it down with the cat, she gets all hurt and makes excuses like how she's had him since he was a kitten and they've been through a lot together. She's even gone as far as to say he was her lifeline during a period of major depression in her late 20s. Every time I back down and say, okay, I get it, he's family. The final straw came when we were talking about relocating to another country. She wants to limit our search to countries that don't make pets fly under the plane, ruling out a ton of good countries. I finally stood up to her, told her pets fly under planes all the time and it's perfectly safe. Told her she was limiting our options for her own anxiety, not the cat's safety. He wouldn't be any safer purring at her feet while she pet him the entire flight. She tried to argue that he's a senior pet, but I didn't back down. What the fuck, he's 10. I showed her tons of airline literature about pet-safe flying programs and whatnot. She tried to argue that physical safety isn't the same as psychological safety, and that she thinks it'd be too traumatizing for the cat to go under the plane. Here's where I might be the asshole. I gave her a list of my top countries, all of which would require the cat to go under the plane. I told her that I wanted a future with her, but that I thought she needed to get serious help for her obsession with her cat, and to let me know when/if she decided to get that help so we could move forward with our lives. The ball's in her court. I've been staying with a buddy, but it's been about a week and she hasn't called, so I'm starting to wonder if I should have helped her find a therapist before I left. Too Long Didn't Read gave my girlfriend an ultimatum about her cat obsession, and now I'm worried there's something more I should have done. Verdict, asshole. Relevant comments. Cola on the floor. She isn't obsessed with her cat. It's called having a pet. Have you ever had a pet before, OP? You're the asshole and you sound insecure and jealous of your girlfriend's cat. OP responds, yes, actually, 2 cats when I was growing up. Mostly outdoor as my mom was allergic, and they got along just fine without special coddling. Just food in the garage and shots every couple of years. Lived to be 16 and 17, which is how I know 10 is not a senior pet. I'm not insecure. I just don't want my girlfriend limiting our happiness for the temporary comfort of a cat. User Unlikely Draft comments, you're the asshole. She isn't obsessed. She's a good pet parent. Having a pet is like having a kid. They need more than just food and water to survive. They need care, love, exercise, attention, and so much more. A pet is also a lifetime commitment. Their lifetime. They're not someone you get and get rid of when you can't be bothered to deal with it. 10 is senior for a cat, and she's completely right about what traveling in cargo could do to it. It would very much so traumatize it. And at that age, having it sedated for the flight could be fatal. Sounds like the cat is much more supportive and caring of her needs and feelings than you are. I'd drop you and keep the cat. OP responds, I don't want her to get rid of the cat, but my understanding is that most of the bad press about pets under planes has been from small, crappy airlines. One of my top countries has an airline with a great track record, but when I point that out, she says 14 hours would be way too long. OP also added this wonderful comment. I guess I just got concerned about her limiting our options too much. The cat already impacts our ability to travel. She doesn't like to put him in a kennel and won't leave him for more than 24 hours without lining up someone to come into our house to feed/play with him. So spontaneous trips are pretty much out. I've asked her to compromise on these things, but she claims even overnights without a caregiver lined up are a compromise. Courtesy of user Whirly for suggesting adding these. A note from Direct Caterpillar. Well, we were trying to have some alone time in the bedroom, if you catch my drift, and he was meowing at the door a bunch, and she asked me to go give him some food to distract him. And I did, but I put the food and the cat outside when I did it. I thought he'd be fine in our little backyard area. I had outdoor cats growing up, and I really thought it'd be fine, but when she was looking for him later, and I mentioned he was in the backyard, she freaked out, which is another reason I assumed her not wanting to put the cat under the plane was anxiety related. For what it's worth, he was fine, just chilling under a bush with a couple neighbor kids trying to play with him. But as a result of this mistake, now her friends are all blah blah, he's gonna kill your cat if you let him come back, or derp, he's gonna get rid of your cat by kidnapping him and dropping him off in the middle of nowhere, which obviously I would never do. But that's the kind of drama mongering I've been trying to overcome with, trying to be thoughtful, rent paying and presents. I swear her friends just want her to be alone and living in a crappy apartment like they do, and don't actually care about her well-being half as much as I do. I just want to protect her. Note from Direct Caterpillar, in the midst of the Am I the Asshole post, OP posted to r/AskVet at the same time, putting in the middle of the relevant comments as the Am I the Asshole comments mentioned it. Posted March 31st, the same day. Is it safe to put a cat in the cargo hold of a plane? I'm getting roasted on another sub for this, so I want to ask the professionals. I want to move to another country with my girlfriend, but the countries we like, I'll require her cat, 10, male, neutered, some kind of tabby, to fly under the plane. My girlfriend does not want to do this. I have done some research, and it sounds like there may be some minimal risk, but nothing warrants ruling it out altogether. The flight would probably be somewhere between 10 to 14 hours. The cat and my girlfriend are very attached to each other, so I initially thought this might just be anxiety on her part. What would you advise? Is there anything I can tell my girlfriend to ease her mind? OP never commented on the Ask Vets post, but returned to the Am I the Asshole post. User Jellybees comments, This'll get buried, but I noticed you posted in a different subreddit about this. Do you feel any differently about the situation after this, or do you still feel like this is unreasonable? If your girlfriend came back and said, I want to make this work, but I'm not willing to compromise on my cat's well-being at this time, would that be something you could accept? OP responds, I posted in the Ask a Vet sub because I was getting too many "you're the asshole, it's super dangerous" responses and was honestly baffled. Lots of people move with their pets this way. From the responses I'm getting here, it sounds like it's a lot more dangerous than I thought, especially for a, yes, fine, I get it, senior cat. It just blows my mind that there are so many countries that make pets go under the plane for immigration. If it's really so dangerous for the pet, that's pretty fucked. I called my girlfriend this morning and told her I got my ass handed to me on the internet over this, and she said she needs some time to think, so I'm feeling pretty shitty, but at least I said I was sorry. OP went back and updated the Am I the Asshole post. Update, I get it, I'm the asshole, the hugest fucking asshole you have ever seen, and possibly some kind of deviant who compares dicks with a cat. 10 is a dude, those comments really got to you, huh? 10 is a senior cat, it's not perfectly safe for pets to fly under planes, and my girl is not crazy for loving her cat. I called her this morning and apologized. She said she needs time to think. At a kind person's suggestion, I sent her a link to this, my public shaming, and am now going to go hide under the bed in hopes she notices my strange behavior and still cares enough to call the vet on me. So before we get to the next, part of this, I do just want to point out how funny it is. It's like, yeah, the cat was fine outside. He was just hiding under the bush, being antagonized by a group of kids who were trying to play with him. Nothing happened. Nothing was wrong. Yeah, dude. Okay. Update, June 8th, 2021, 10 weeks later. Am I the asshole for not breaking the lease and buying a bad present? So, my 36 male girlfriend, 35 female, and I have been separated for a few months now. We still have 6 months on our lease, which I still pay half of, even though she's been living there alone, and I've been crashing with friends. Lately, she's been pushing for us to break the lease and each find our own places, but I don't want to do that because I'm still committed to her and getting our relationship back. I miss her so much and keep trying to show her that I know I fucked up and am going to work hard to make it up to her, but she just won't budge. One of my buddies said I might be the asshole for not breaking the lease, but honestly, I feel the opposite because it's not like I'm forcing her to pay for the whole place by herself, just half, like she paid when we lived there, together. And it is a much nicer place than she'd be able to afford if we broke the lease and she had to find a place on her own. As part of my campaign to win her back, I've been leaving presents for her on my way to work. Normal stuff like flowers, chocolates, iced coffees with little notes, etc. But the other day I left a present for her cat that I thought would go over well since she really loves her cat. It was a little mouse toy and some tasty looking treats. But then she texted me asking me to stop leaving her stuff and informed me her cat can't even eat the treats because he needs to only eat his special food for UTIs or something, and I'm the asshole for not knowing that. Am I seriously the asshole for wanting my girlfriend to stay in a nicer apartment and leaving presents for her and her cat? Verdict removed before verdict rendered. Asshole. Relevant comments. When told they're broken up. We're not broken up, we're just separated. She only said she wanted to break up once, and it was in the heat of the moment when we were in the middle of arguing, but then we talked rationally about it after she'd calmed down, and she agreed that we just need some space from one another for a while, which I've been giving her by staying with friends while continuing to pay half the bills. User Caffeine Queen 1234 comments, Honey, you're broken up. She wants to break a lease and risk having to pay extra to do so just to get away from you. User Himkano, sorry, you're the asshole. I'm not sure about breaking the lease because depending on where you are, that might cause more trouble than it's worth. You can take over the lease, or she can break her part of the lease and then leave you to figure it out, but her demanding that you participate in breaking the lease might be too much. However, where she lives is not your business. Giving her presents when she doesn't want to see you is invasive. You have no right to know she is safe. You have no right to demand you get back together. She has no obligation to budge. Keep the lease or not, but leave her alone. Also, you only put the cat outside so you can be alone. Is it an outside cat? Because if not, wow. Also, we have 4 cats and my wife and I still get plenty of alone time. It sounds like you're jealous of her cats. The realization of which is too late to help you in this relationship, but will maybe give you some ideas on how to improve your next one. Opie responds, definitely more trouble than it's worth. We'd have to pay a significant portion of the remaining 6 months of rent, and more importantly, it could hurt our reputation as renters in the future. And neither of us would be able to afford the place on our own. So one of us taking over the lease isn't really an option. And yes, the cat is an inside cat. Like I said, I fucked up. Posted June 28, 2021, the same day as the Am I the Asshole post. How can I, 36 male, overcome my girlfriend, 35 male, friends drama mongering in our relationship? My girlfriend and I have been taking some space for a few months. Her living in our apartment and me crashing with friends but still paying half the rent/bills. We've been together 3-ish years? Lived together for 2. The entire separation I've been committed to her and getting our relationship back to a good place. The separation happened because of something I've since apologized for. Long story short, basically we disagreed about putting her cat under a plane, which she refused to do, and I stupidly implied it was about her anxiety and she needed to get help. Anyway, ever since then, I've been trying to show her I love her and am willing to do whatever it takes to get her back. But her friends are cutting me off at every turn. They're literally telling her I'm going to kill her cat if she lets me come back because I resent the cat so much, which is complete horseshit. The friends in question are all single, living paycheck to paycheck, generally unhappy with their own lives, and I honestly think they just want to drag her down with them. How can I protect her without it seeming like I'm trying to isolate her? Which I'm not, but if I point out their probable ulterior motives, that's exactly what they'd say. Too long didn't read, going through a rough patch with my girlfriend and her friends are actively drama-mongering and trying to make all my attempts at reconciliation fail. Edit, sorry, the title should read, How can I, 36 male, overcome my girlfriend, 35 female friends drama-mongering in our relationship? Top comment from user Almost Infinity. Dude, leave her alone, you guys are broken up. You're being so creepy to her trying to win her back. She keeps telling you to stop leaving her gifts and to leave her alone, and you're not listening. OP made the final update on the original Am I the Asshole post, June 8th, 2021. Final update! Jesus! Fuck, you guys! She dumped me, okay? Are you happy now? What a goofball. You didn't want to listen to your girlfriend, you wanted people to dunk on her, and when they didn't dunk on her, you got really defensive. And then, once you realized that the internet was against you and the faulty of your logic, then that's when you apologized to her. You didn't listen to her. You didn't potentially think outside your bubble. Instead, it was just, nope, you're wrong, I'm right, I'm not gonna listen to you. And by the time that you finally realized you were, well, guess what? It's too late. Your girlfriend was separated from you when, in all actuality, you guys were broken up, but you were too blind to see it. I also gotta love the little temper tantrums. I'm gonna go hide under the bed and see if she calls the vet for me. You know, just the petty, kind of snarky comment, followed up by the, are you happy now? I don't think you realize that most of the people on Reddit were trying to tell you that you were fucking up, but you kept doubling down and telling people they were wrong. So yeah, they're gonna root against you because you're being an asshole and not listening. You can't just turn on the orphan smashing machine, then be confused why everyone's mad you turned on the orphan smashing machine, dude. Then defending why turning on the orphan smashing machine was a great idea, actually. And then being like, my girlfriend broke up with me because I turned on the orphan smashing machine. Are you guys happy now? Dude, all you had to do was just listen to your girlfriend, not to turn on the orphan smashing machine. That was it. But you didn't. Originally cross-posted to r/UhOhConsequences by GamerGirlX77. Originally posted to r/bestof by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, I'm keeping the garlic. The original OP's commercial Yak 3422 posted on r/AmITheAsshole, March 26th, 2024. Am I the asshole for blocking my ex when she broke up with me? I made this account today because my sister and parents are acting like I'm in the wrong and I genuinely don't see how. My 19 male ex-girlfriend, 30 female, of 3 years, broke up with me Sunday night. Over text. She told me that she felt like my lack of ambition was holding her back, and she needed to move on with her life because she felt like I didn't value her. When she sent me that, I just sent, okay, and blocked her, and fell asleep shortly after. I did not block her friends, and had loads of messages yesterday morning when I woke up. They were asking me to unblock her and talk to her. My sister, 20 female, is also friends with my ex-girlfriend, and she told me that my ex was hurt by my sudden blocking, and that she wanted to talk to me for closure and wanted to make sure I was okay. I told my sister that I was okay, and that I didn't want to talk to my ex, but I would like it if she could tell her I appreciate her checking on me. My sister was not happy with this, and told me that it was a hard decision for my ex, and she just wants to talk to me. I again told her I was fine, and that I'd rather not. My sister then told me that I'm acting insanely calm for being broken up with someone I was with for 3 years. I again told her I was fine. She asked me if I cried, and I told her that I didn't, and I just fell asleep, listening to music. My sister told me that she's concerned about my lack of emotion, and told me that my behavior isn't normal. I told her that I'm not obligated to cry over anything, and I think it's weird that she was acting like I was. My sister once again told me that it wouldn't hurt to have one conversation with my ex because she was still worried about me and wanted to stay friends. I once again told her that I was fine and didn't want to talk to her. She told me that my lack of compassion is psychotic. That pissed me off, so I just started ignoring her, and she eventually left me alone. This morning when I woke up, my sister sent me a bunch of text messages again, so I just blocked her. And because of this, she went and told our parents, and they're upset with me for blocking my ex without communicating first. They said that we've been together long enough, and they thought of her as a second daughter. I was just aggravated at this point and told them that I'd appreciate if they mind their business, but they didn't stop, so I told them I wouldn't hesitate to block them too if they continue, which caused them to stop. They apologized to me and told me they didn't mean any harm, but just felt it was a little inconsiderate of me to just block her without talking about it first. And they won't press me to talk to her if I don't want to. I would also argue it's inconsiderate to break up over text. Relevant comments. Commenter. Are you kidding? She says she doesn't want to date you and then is mad when you cut contact? She can't have it both ways. She dumped you. She chose to end it. She's a huge asshole for making her inability to deal with her emotions about the breakup your problem. Like, why should you babysit her emotions when she fucking dumped you? OP responds, thank you. I don't understand why everyone was making it seem like I was in the wrong when I wasn't even the one who broke up with her. Commenter, she might also be trying to stay in the friend group and trying to make it so things aren't awkward. Yeah, fuck that, not the asshole. OP responds, I doubt it. Her friends aren't my friends. I was just friendly with them because I was dating her. All of her friends are blocked. Commenter, please go on a date with someone new ASAP. Make sure your sister knows. Go somewhere nice. If this isn't doable, fake the date. Hilarity will ensue. Opie responds, LMAO, my friend actually suggested I do this as well, but I wasn't comfortable with the idea. I feel like it'll just cause unnecessary drama, and I'm just trying to relax. For real. And OP responding to a now deleted comment. I'm not autistic, but I don't think I was ever tested for that, so I'm not sure. My parents did force me to see a therapist for a while when I was 17. They also thought my lack of motivation was concerning. I was never told I had anything wrong with me, though. There is no consensus bot on r/am_I_the_asshole with an H, but a majority of the comments were not the asshole. Update, posted April 8th, 2024, 2 weeks later. This happened like exactly a week ago, so I apologize for not updating. I genuinely was not thinking about this at the time. Basically, my ex showed up at my parents' house during Easter with my sister. My parents and I weren't even made aware that she was coming. She told us that she only came because she had no other way to communicate with me. She told me that she was extremely hurt by me blocking her right off the bat because it made her feel like I actually didn't care about her at all. She said she thought that I would have loved her enough to try and better myself for her. I was confused by this, to be honest. I told her that she said I was holding her back and she needed to move on. If anyone told me that I was holding them back in life, I probably would have blocked them too. I told her that even if she didn't say that, I still wouldn't have begged her to stay. We kinda talked a little more after that, and she got my sister to take her back home. When my sister came back, she was mad at me again because she said that I caused my ex to cry, and I'm simply punishing her for caring about me. My parents are mad at my sister, though, because they said it was unnecessary of her to do that at their house because it made the atmosphere awkward for everyone. Other than that, I've really just been chilling. I don't think I'm gonna try and date anyone else soon, though, or at least not someone my sister is friends with, because it makes me uncomfortable with how much she's invested in my life. So I will say OP's lack of emotion is definitely interesting. But also, just from a fundamental standpoint, if you're having problems with your partner, like their lack of ambition, lack of motivation, or X, Y, and Z, but you want them to change, you don't go about that by saying, we need to break up because you're holding me back. That really should have just been a conversation of, hey, I really would like it if you put motivation or a bit of ambition into the life and future we would have together. Instead of hoping that he would fight for you and try and, I don't know, beg? It sounds more like she just wanted him to grovel and, change that way, so she thought a breakup text would scare him straight, and instead he was like, okay, well, I don't want to hold you back, so I guess we'll move on. And now she's trying to flip the script like M. Night Shyamalan directing Teletubbies live-action reboot or something. Teletubbies are already live action. That comparison doesn't quite make sense. My main point, though, boils down to, if you want to have a serious conversation with your partner, don't phrase it as a breakup text, because otherwise they might actually just accept your breakup on face value. Submitted to UhOhConsequences by Great Question, Fran. The best of this mini saga was collected by SW2Girl, and their tagline is, I've read them all. Posted October 6th, 2022 to r/entitled people by Sad Dad Throwaway. My son stole his dead mother's ring for his girlfriend, and now he won't talk to me after making him return it. To say I was mad as hell would be an understatement. I, 46 male, have a son, Jake, 23 male, and fake name. Jake was a good kid growing up, so him doing this was a complete shock to me. I have a daughter too, Amber, 16 female and also fake name. When my wife passed away from COVID nearly 2 years ago, she already had a will in place. She was immunocompromised due to a prior condition she was diagnosed with a decade before she passed. She made sure she had a will set, just in case anything happened to her. It said she will divide her assets between our children, and Jake got his cut as he was already 21. He used that money to put a down payment on a condo, and he also got his mother's car. But the will stated that my daughter was to get all of my wife's jewelry. That included a vintage gold ring with a diamond that had a light blue sapphire on each side of it. That ring has been passed down for generations in my wife's family. It was originally her grandmother's wedding band. Her husband was a jeweler and handcrafted the ring for her himself. It was passed down to my wife's mother when her grandmother died, and then to my wife herself when her mother passed. It, along with other jewelry, was all to go to my daughter. When my wife passed away, my grief was intense, but I powered through it for the sake of my family, and they supported me 100%. So the betrayal from my son was just a rusty knife in the back to me. For the past 8 months, Jake has been dating Sarah, fake name. She has my son wrapped around her finger. She loves jewelry as she adorns herself with it a lot. My son mentioned the family jewels my wife left his sister to Sarah one day, and Sarah really wanted to see them. So Jake went into my room when no one was home and showed them to her. He later admitted to me that he'd done this, and I was angry. But I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Jake came to me a week ago and begged for that ring from his mother's family jewels so that he could propose with it. He said Sarah had fallen in love with the ring when she saw it before, and he just knew it'd be the perfect ring to ask her to marry him with. He seemed completely convinced I'd be jumping for joy for him wanting to propose, but instead, I told him that I was not the one to ask, as the ring belongs to Amber, and I wouldn't have him pressuring her to give it up either. For a fair chance, I'd allow him to explain his reasons and ask her for it once. But only once, without pressuring her, and if she refuses for any reason, that will be the end of it. Jake agreed and asked Amber for the ring right in front of me. But she told him no because she wanted to keep it in the family jewels and has always loved that ring. To her, it's priceless. She couldn't bear to ever give it up. I told Jake that was that and to not press the matter further. Jake left, looking very unhappy about not getting the ring, but I thought he'd let it go and look into finding a similar one. But he came back another day while I was at work to talk to his sister after she got home from school. He and Amber got into a huge fight about the ring, and Amber called me crying. I called Jake and told him to get out of my house and leave his sister alone. Jake yelled at me that he should have just as much right to the ring as his sister, because my wife was his mother too. But I reminded him he got a lot of his mother's money and her car. The jewelry is Amber's, and only hers. He hung up on me, and Amber soon texted me that he left very angry. Later, right before I left work, my daughter called and told me that Jake came back. He walked in, dressed in a suit, went into my room, and took something, then left without saying anything to Amber. She tried to keep him from leaving, but he shoved her out of the way. I rushed home as soon as my shift was over and checked my wife's jewelry box. The ring was gone. I immediately called Jake, but he didn't answer. So I messaged him that I'll get the police involved if he doesn't return the ring. Using it to propose won't stop me from taking it back. That finally made him talk to me. And he tried to say that I couldn't do that to him because he's my son. I said I can. And will. Because he outright stole the ring. He'd better bring it back right away, or I would take drastic measures. Well, he phoned me right after that, and in a whisper he said that it was too late. He'd taken his girlfriend out to dinner and proposed to her with the ring. He hadn't had it for more than an hour by this point, yet the ring was already on her finger. I said that was his problem. He stole the ring. He can bring it back. It's not his, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure it's returned. And if that means going to the police and blowing the whole situation up, then so be it. I'll file a report. I'll even get a lawyer. Jake started crying and saying I couldn't do this to him. I told him tough luck. He stole from both his sister and dead mother. I would not back down until the ring was returned. Jake wouldn't stop crying and making excuses, so I told him to have the ring back by morning, or I would be moving forward with legal action. Jake is my son, but he still broke the law. I couldn't overlook what he did. He said he'd be by in the morning to talk, and ended the call while crying even more. Well, Jake did show up in the morning and brought his girlfriend with him to try and guilt us. Turns out she not only knew he stole the ring, she wanted to keep it anyway because she was completely in love with the ring since she first laid eyes on it. I told her I don't care. She could have a jeweler make a copy of it or something, but the original doesn't belong to her. It belongs to my daughter and deceased wife. Jake begged me one more time not to make her give it back, but I and my daughter stood firm. Return the ring or face the police and maybe even a potential lawsuit. Jake's girlfriend pulled the ring off her finger and dropped it in my daughter's hands, called me an evil bastard, then left my house in tears. Jake started screaming at me that I may have just destroyed his relationship. I retorted him that he did this to his own relationship by stealing a ring that didn't belong to him. What kind of son steals from his own sister and dead mother? That is beyond terrible. Jake had nothing more to say to me and walked out to follow after his girlfriend. I didn't get anyone else involved in the situation, but Jake did. He tried getting support from friends and family, but he got the exact opposite reaction he'd hoped for. They were all mad at him over what he'd done. I got many phone calls and messages from people offering me condolences and saying they were not on Jake's side. I tried to do damage control, but now everybody knows. It's been a week now, and Jake's refused to speak to me. I've sent him detailed pictures of the ring just in case he wanted a jeweler to replicate it. But making a copy would be very expensive unless he used fake stones. Thus far, there has been no response. I don't know what the situation is with his girlfriend, if she even still is his girlfriend, after what happened, but I still stand by the fact that Jake had to return the ring. I have since had all my wife's jewelry placed in a safety deposit box that only I have access to. The jewelry will remain there until my daughter is 21. It may even stay there if she wants to keep it safe that way. I know I'm in the right to have reclaimed the ring, however, I don't want my son to hate me, and I don't want the family to hate him. If anyone has any advice as to how to better mediate the situation without me giving away the ring or spending a lot of money, I am all ears. Update 1, posted on October 18th, 2022. My son stole his dead mother's ring for his girlfriend and is now blaming me for his relationship ending. Well, my son's girlfriend Sarah has officially broken up with him. He's devastated and blaming me. Some previously pointed out that I gave him too much credit in saying he was a good kid. He used to be, but the person he is now, I just do not recognize. Whether he was always like this deep down or if he just fell for the wrong person and let her change him for the worse is a mystery to me. But it doesn't justify what he did. After I forced him and Sarah to return the stolen ring, she apparently spent days crying in bed, then told Jake that she didn't want a different ring, no matter how much he told her he'd get her another one. She wanted my deceased wife's ring. She couldn't imagine possibly having a different one for their engagement, now that it had already been on her hand, even though it was only for a few hours. And stolen. The last time I met someone who cried that much about being made to return stolen property, they were 4 years old. I heard more than one person say they thought Sarah was being a big baby about it. The situation was no secret because Jake spilled the beans looking for support to the whole family and his/Sarah's friends. As previous readers know, that backfired badly for them. Well, after Jake's failed gambit for support, all the local drama lovers latched onto the situation like barnacles to a boat. They kept messaging me with more information, even though I wasn't asking. So I was being kept in the loop, even though Jake and Sarah weren't talking to me. My son had the pictures I sent him so that he could try and replicate the ring, and he took them to a jeweler. The jeweler said he could make a similar ring based on the pictures, but he'd want to closely examine the original and take proper measurements to make an evaluation of the stones and metal in order to see what it'd take to make as close of a copy as possible. Jake waited for a while before swallowing his pride to call me again. His girlfriend was finally at least entertaining the idea of making a copy, but she wanted it to be an exact copy, down to the smallest detail. They called me a couple days after I made my original post and asked me to bring the ring to a jeweler to get a proper quote on the cost of making a duplicate. I agreed to take an extended lunch break and meet the local jeweler. I got the ring from the safety deposit box and guarded it closely. I could see Sarah's eyes light up with greed the moment she saw it again. She reached her hand out and asked to wear it just one more time, then pouted like a child when I told her no. For all I knew, she'd take off running the second she had it. The jeweler looked at the ring very closely for a little while and said it was worth more than we thought, and to copy it would cost a lot. The ring was decades old and expertly crafted by my wife's grandfather sometime in the 1940s. The jeweler singed its praises even. The diamond and sapphires were decently large for an engagement ring, and the ring itself didn't use a slim gold band but a pretty thick and heavy one, made of what was estimated to be 18-karat gold. But there was more. The stones themselves were set in platinum, and the ring had many ornate floral carvings on it. The stones alone needed to make an identical ring were more than Jake's current budget. Not including antique value, making a copy of a ring like that with that variety of materials would cost a lot in time and labor because every part of it would have to be handcrafted. It was 5 times what Jake had saved. The best he could have done would be to make a down payment and then spend years in debt. Sarah enthusiastically wanted Jake to have the ring made anyway, but the cost was just too much. So the jeweler suggested they have one made that looks just the same. It didn't need to be made of the exact same materials. They could use a center stone that just looked similar to diamond and replace the platinum with a similar metal I can't remember the name of. It would have reduced cost by a lot. There was also a suggestion of looking for a modern ring that looks similar that's already made, which could be far cheaper as well. In fact, the jeweler already had 3 rings set aside that all looked somewhat similar with a central diamond and sapphires, all very reasonably priced. Jake was all for either idea when Sarah suddenly slapped him while calling him a cheap, broke-ass wannabe, then turned on her heel to me and called me an evil bastard again for taking the original ring back because it had already been given to her when Jake proposed, and should still be hers regardless. And she held up her hand in the manner that one does when they expect you to put a ring on their finger, and outright demanded the ring back while saying it was her right to wear it, and that my daughter wouldn't need it because it would go to waste with her. She actually said it's not like my daughter would be doing the proposing to anyone since a man could just get a different ring for her someday. Oh boy, did that make me angry. She clearly noticed because she took a couple of steps back. I looked her dead in the eye and said that my wife's family ring will never be hers. It wasn't Jake's to give away, and he knew it. That's why he went out of his way to steal it while I wasn't home, because he hoped I wouldn't demand it back if he used it. But neither he nor she ever had a right to it. Then I said that it's entitled people like her that are what's wrong with the world now. She acts like whatever she wants should be handed to her, and she's lusted after my wife's ring ever since Jake first showed it to her. That whole speech was a bit long-winded with some conjecture, I know, but I just couldn't hold myself back verbally anymore. My wife used to tell me that if I wanted to insult someone, I always found out exactly what to say. After I said all of that to Sarah's face, she aimed to slap me too. But I guess the look in my eyes was enough to make her turn away and storm out instead, while very loudly making some sort of unintelligible tantrum noises that hurt my ears. She even intentionally knocked down a counter display on her way out. Jake was glaring at me with absolute rage, but didn't say anything until I asked him why he was with this awful woman. He just said that he loved her and followed after. To his credit, she is very beautiful, but it's really just skin deep. Sarah wouldn't talk to Jake for a while, and then a few days later told him they were through because she felt like he didn't value her enough to get her the ring she deserved, and that she couldn't imagine having a miser like me as a father-in-law. She said she felt thoroughly humiliated by me and cried that people all think she's a gold digger now. But I don't think they're wrong. I mean, she slapped my son just for suggesting they make a cheaper version of an expensive ring he could not afford, then threw a massive tantrum just because I wouldn't hand over the original when she demanded it. That's the behavior of a gold digger if I've ever seen any. And while it is an assumption on my part, exactly how long would Sarah have stayed with my son if someone rich came along and swept her off her feet? Would she have been inclined to still stand by him? Something tells me not so. I honestly feel like she just wanted the ring and nothing else. Right after the incident with the breakup, Jake did try to get in my house again while I wasn't home. To do what? I have no idea, but if I were to speculate, he may have been after the cash in my gun safe or thought the family jewels were still in the house. I hadn't told him at that point that I'd had them stored away in a deposit box. I really didn't want to think my own son would break in for either of those reasons, but he stole from us once. He could do it again. Someone here suggested I replace the locks on my house, and I did, so Jake's key would no longer work. I'm looking into getting cameras put in now too. My daughter Amber called me after Jake showed up and said she was terrified while he was banging on the front door and demanding to be let in. I called his cell and he didn't pick up, but I guess it spooked him because Amber said he left right after his phone started ringing. He has a set ringtone for me, so he knew it was me calling in an instant. Jake called later that evening, but before he could start yelling at me, I demanded to know what the hell he was doing trying to break into my house while I wasn't home earlier. He scared his sister and she nearly called the police. Jake dodged the question by being angry about me changing the locks because I don't trust him. I said, "Damn right I don't trust him, not after what he did." Jake fired back that I couldn't just be happy for him, and that if his mom was still alive, she'd have wanted him to use the ring to propose. I saw red and said that if she wanted that, she'd have willed it to him. So he began whining and saying it was all my fault. He explained exactly what Sarah said when she broke up with him, and how she called me a miser, among other things, then ranted about how I always thought Sarah was never good enough for him. I pointed out he was putting words in my mouth. I never said she wasn't good enough for him. I barely knew Sarah, and I never once got in the way of him being with her, till he stole the ring. He tried to deny that, but I asked him when I'd ever said anything bad about Sarah prior to the ring incident. He really sounded like he was thinking hard, but even he couldn't remember any actual time because I barely saw this woman ever while they were dating. I wasn't even aware they were dating till at least 3 months had gone by in their relationship. But that was all beside the point. What the hell was he trying to get into my house for this time? He refused to answer. So I answered for him. I said if he was after the ring or any of the other family jewels, they've been moved to a secure safe location only I had access to. If he was trying to break into my safe for my emergency cash fund, there's no way he'd get it open. If he was there to do any sort of harm to his sister, I'd kick his ass myself. I may have hit the nail in the head with at least one of those things because Jake just had a long, silent pause on the line. Then he told me he's made up his mind to put in for a transfer at his job and sell his condo. He wants to move as far away as possible and never speak to me again. His last words to me were to have a nice life with my favorite child. I don't understand how my son has so completely changed on this level in just a year. I never actually called Sarah a manipulative gold digger until recently. I said she had my son wrapped around her finger and she loves jewelry, though I guess that's not at all that different in the long run. But in truth, she is a manipulative gold digger, especially after the drama act she put on to try and keep a ring that was never hers. I mean, she spent days in bed crying over a ring she knew was stolen, and then had her huge tantrum at not being able to get it back or copy it. Now, because of her, my son has chosen to wash his hands of me and his sister altogether. I'm devastated, but at the same time, furious that my son would do such things just to appease this witch of a woman. He'd only been dating 8 months. That's not enough time dating before proposing. I dated my wife for over 2 years before popping the question. I shudder to think what things would have been like if that witch had married my son. I know Jake is going to blame me for a long time, and I'm not sure if we'll ever speak again. I hope one day we can reconcile, but for now, I think we need time apart. Amber is also very upset. She's extremely thankful I got the ring back for her, but she's just as shocked as I was that Jake has become like he is now. She's referring to him as a brute for how he shoved her aside when he stole the ring, and also calling him a simp. Whatever that means. Thankfully, she has a great support system with me and the rest of the family, something I know Jake doesn't have right now. Multiple family members have called or messaged him to tell him off. His now former best friend even came to me to apologize. He and Jake got in a nasty fight over what he'd done. When his own best friend since elementary school didn't see things from his side, Jake cut him off too. Jake's ex-girlfriend Sarah also got in trouble with her own family. Her parents contacted me to ask for my side of the story and then apologized for their daughter's behavior. They only knew a small bit of what happened, but were appalled to hear about the way she'd acted. Like Jake, they said she used to be a much kinder person, but in the past few years, she's changed so much. They are severely disappointed in her. They were also covering half of the rent to her current apartment and are now telling her that when her lease is over, they will not be renewing it with her. She can either pay the full rent herself or look for somewhere else to live. Now she's going around cursing my name and saying this is all my fault. What is it with people these days? It's like ever since all those memes about entitled people on the internet have exploded, it just made more people like them. When I was Jake's age, I only saw people like that on rare occasions. Now they're everywhere. I've seen 2 in the local supermarket this year even. They're spreading their toxicity like a flood on the world. I can only hope one day my son comes to his senses and finds happiness again. Whether or not he chooses to speak with me ever again, I'll hold out hope he'll one day return to being the kind person he once was. Update, November 14th, 2022. My son's ex was obsessed with the ring. I'll start this off by asking that people please stop messaging me for pictures of the ring. I've gotten many asking me to see it for various reasons, some even because they want a similar ring made as well. Well, I made my daughter aware of this Reddit account, and she's proud of me for doing it, but she doesn't want pictures of the ring online. That's her decision to make because the ring is hers. I don't need to question her as to why, I just need to respect her decision. I also don't like the idea of posting pictures of it because if it gets copied by total strangers, then it'd no longer be unique. I was willing to let my son copy the ring because it was a family matter, but I won't be posting it for everyone to see and replicate as they please. I've already long deleted the pictures of the ring I sent Jake, and the ring is locked away in a bank vault right now. It will not remain there permanently, as I intend to get a better home safe to keep it in when I can afford it. In the past few weeks since my original post, I did have cameras installed, and I'm thankful I did. For those wondering if my son and Sarah would get back together, no, they did not. My son is apparently really selling his condo. He's not spoken to me since our last phone conversation where he told me to have a nice life with my favorite child after not getting his way. I have been to see my lawyer about my estate, and got my will altered. I haven't written my son out, but he's lost a lot of the things he would have otherwise inherited for the time being. After having some time to think, I've realized I just can't feel remorse for Jake anymore after his actions as of late. My daughter Amber calling him a simp seems to be an apt description once I found out what that meant. But I just don't want to be angry or sad about it anymore. Neither emotion is doing me any good, so for now, I'm just going to do my best to let it go and move on. Jake seems to plan on moving on without us anyway. Hopefully in time he'll understand what he did wrong, but I can't change his mind for him. I did run into my son's ex, Sarah, at a random place in town. She spotted me while I was with one of my friends in the middle of the local shopping mall. She called out to me while we were in front of a bunch of people and started booing me and calling me a greedy miser. I didn't really have to say anything to her because my friend laughed at her and called her a thief and a gold-digging bitch who just wanted my dead wife's ring because she couldn't have it. I saw half the crowd turn to look at her at once when he said that. Sarah flipped us off and stormed away while cursing my name and knocking over anything in her path. This includes a small child who started crying in an instant. When she realized she'd hurt the kid, Sarah took off running. My friend and I helped the very pregnant mother of the child in calming the kid down, and thankfully the kid was okay. Sarah showed up at my house later to yell that it's all my fault. Her friends are saying she's a gold digger now and won't hang out with her anymore. I said she's a gold digger because of what she did. She never had a right to my wife's ring, and she cried for days about it, like a child, then broke up with my son just because he couldn't afford what she wanted. That's all something a gold digger would do. I'm not at fault just because she wanted my dead wife's ring so bad, and I'll make damn sure she never sees it again. What came next was more unintelligible screaming from her as she stomped back to her car. I'd hoped that was the end of it, but that girl just wouldn't leave well enough alone. For those thinking Sarah and Jake's personality shifts were due to drugs, I'm not sure whether or not to tell you I'm sorry that it isn't the case. It was all them, which in Jake's case is a harder pill to swallow because it means he has no excuse for such a radical shift in behavior. Sarah was arrested last week for attempting to break into my house. The cameras I had installed caught her sneaking into my backyard and trying to break in. She tried to break open my back door with an axe, and that tripped the alarm I had installed. She ran off, but the cameras in front of the house caught video of both her and her car very clearly in my driveway. She also left the axe with her fingerprints on it on the ground before she ran. When police got there, she was long gone, but they later found her at her apartment. They initially just wanted to arrest her for breaking my door and trespassing, but she went crazy on them and wound up getting pinned to the ground and frog marched out. This woman definitely has something mentally wrong with her. I, at this point, can only assume the ring was in the 5-figure territory for value. A few days after Sarah was arrested, I spoke to her parents again. They offered to pay for the broken door, and then filled me in on some of the details. It seems drugs were not involved. They told me she was given drug tests at the station and her system came back clean. Since she wasn't on drugs, I don't think Jake was either, but Sarah was found to be very mentally unwell. So, I guess it was just her crazy that was contagious. Her parents promised me that I'll never have to deal with her again, as they plan to move out of her town once they've dealt with the legalities of her situation. They haven't contacted me again since, but I wouldn't say it's my business they do either. I'm guessing, though, that Sarah likely needs major mental health treatment, so in a sense, I do feel a little sorry for her now. I knew Jake had to be aware of what happened with Sarah since everyone was talking about it, but he has not reached out to any friends or family. One of the people he works with has contacted me, though, and told me Jake is still openly very angry about what happened. He still believes the ring would have been a small price to pay for his happiness. Now that Sarah has been taken away, Jake has also shifted blame onto her, saying she's the crazy gold digger woman who ruined his life. It seems all he can do is blame other people, some more. Until he accepts fault in his own actions, then I don't think we can have a relationship. He's not going to do well in life if he can't take responsibility for his own actions. I just hope that some time alone, wherever he chooses to go, will help him to mellow out and understand where he went wrong. This is likely to be my last update here, unless something else goes wrong. And if no new posts show up in the coming months or years, then you'll all know everything is fine, at least as much as it can be, considering the situation. Update, December 12th, 2022. My son just left town. I was hoping for no more drama or anything of the like, but it just didn't stop. Yes, Jake sold his condo. For how much, I don't know, but he probably made a profit flipping it. And last Saturday, he pretty much just took whatever he could fit in his car and left. From what I know, the last few weeks have been hectic for my son. People all over town know what he did, because the gossip train never stopped. At one point, Jake nearly got in a fight with a man at a bar because this guy called him out in front of everyone there. I tried to take the initiative by going to see him one last time. I hoped maybe we could talk things out and make amends before he left town. Because at this point, I'd realized his moving away was the best thing he could do for himself. He'd already destroyed his own reputation, and he's better off starting over somewhere else. But when I got there and knocked on his door, he refused to open it. I tried to say I only wanted to talk, and he told me through the door that there was nothing to talk about, other than the fact I ruined his life. There was a bit of a pause where he was only speaking intermittently, then he suddenly went on a rant about the ring and how I should have just let Sarah keep it, and went on to say that I should have also offered to help pay for the copy. But it didn't matter anymore. Sarah was confirmed crazy, and they're through for good. Just like he's through with me and his sister. Well, that got me mad, and I retorted that what he did was unacceptable. He assaulted his sister while stealing that ring from my house, for crying out loud. He's lucky I didn't have him arrested for that. And literally, everyone who knew what he did was against him. That's the kind of red flag that shows you are in the wrong on a citywide scale. Then I told him to drop the act he's put up for the sake of pride. I said that I don't know if he rushed things with Sarah because he missed his mother, or because he's now the age I was when he was born, or whatever other reason he could have. But the fact still remains that he knew what he did was wrong, and just won't admit it. And I'm tired of trying to stick up for him. I didn't escalate the situation with anyone. He and Sarah did that. I'm tired of being blamed by him for his own wrongdoings. That's the sort of thing narcissists and cowards do. His mother and I raised him better than that, and he should know that his mother wouldn't have approved of his actions. But she's not here to say it. It doesn't matter who you are. If you steal something that's not yours, you can't go blaming the person you stole from for being mad about it and doing whatever they have to in order to get it back. There was a silent pause on Jake's end for a few seconds, and then he said, "Fuck you, Dad." After he said that, I could hear him crying and hitting things inside. That's when I noticed down the hall that one of Jake's neighbors was poking her head out the door, and she went back inside the moment I looked at her. Yeah, this'll end up right back in the gossip train. Jake refused to say anything more to me, so I just left. But when I was leaving the building, a police car pulled up right in front of the condo building. 2 officers got out of the car and asked my name. When I told them who I was, they said that they had been called by someone in the building saying I was trying to break into their apartment. I said I had an argument with my son through his door, but I didn't once try to force my way in, and I only touched the door to knock. I told the whole story of what happened and then pointed out which neighbor had been watching and listening, and that the building had CCTV. One of the officers went up to talk to the neighbor while the other detained me with cuffs. He was very polite and said that the cuffs were just to make sure since they don't know who's telling the truth. I said he's just doing his job, and he let me sit down on a bench nearby while we waited. The officer who went in the building called on the walkie after about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not sure since I couldn't look at my watch, but he said that the neighbor's story more or less matched mine, and there was apparently more than one neighbor who was listening in who corroborated the same story. Then he said he was going to talk to the building security and check the CCTV for that hallway. This took a fair bit longer. Again, I couldn't look at my watch. I just sat waiting on a bench near the entrance. But the kind officer pulled up a radio on his cell phone and let me listen to it for a while to pass the time. The other officer finally called back on the walkie and told his partner to uncuff me because the CCTV had cleared me. He said that while the audio wasn't great, you could see and hear enough to show I never once tried to force my way in. I was uncuffed, and after the officer got back, the two of them briefly spoke to each other for a moment, then asked if I was the guy whose son stole his dead mother's ring. I confirmed I am, and asked how they knew. Then they both said that they'd heard about it through the grapevine, and after hearing my version of events, they put 2 and 2 together. One of them said he was in the office the day Sarah was arrested. Apparently, she was acting like a wild animal and trying to bite them, and she made several threats from, "Do you know who my parents are?" to "I'm going to castrate you." Although castrate isn't the actual word or words she used, I could only look embarrassed by it all. The officers told me to just go home, and that I was probably better off not coming back. I just nodded and left. I saw the police go back into the building as I was leaving, likely to talk to Jake. I know it was him who called the police because his neighbors messaged me later on social media saying that the officers gave him a solid chewing out for wasting police time to the point he was crying again. And I guess they also pointed out the ring incident and said that what he did was pretty low. I am not sure how Jake took that, but it sounds like he heavily embellished what was going on when he called the police. And from the time I first arrived to when the police got there, he had to have called them right around when he started talking through the door. He's beyond lucky they didn't arrest him for calling them over under false pretenses. I went home and was comforted by my daughter Amber, and she told me I tried, and it's not my fault Jake has gone bad. But it still hurt. I may have lost my son permanently. I ended up taking a day off work and locked myself in my office to play Dragon Warrior 1 on an NES emulator and eat vanilla ice cream to try and unwind. My son left town over the weekend. I may never see him again, but if I do, I hope he understands that I will always care about him. Yes, he wronged me, but I'm still his father. He could come to my door tomorrow wanting to talk, and I'd let him. I just hope that day doesn't take 10 or 20 years. Added information, some have wondered how small of a town I live in for things to have spread so fast. It's actually not that small of a town, more of a slightly below average sized city, but one thing that made it possible for word to spread so fast was family. I personally come from a small family, but my wife came from one that's quite frankly huge and very close-knit. When I tell you that her extended family is everywhere around the city, I'm not exaggerating. I can run into one of them at any given time just walking around or going to the store, and a lot of these relatives are the type to love gossip. And when my son went looking for familial support for his actions online, that's when the gossip train started. First, they told Jake off for what he'd done. Then they started telling everybody they know of what happened. I never wanted it to escalate like that, but it just did so on its own. It just turned into one of those 15 minutes of infamy situations for Jake and should have died down quickly, but my son's ex Sarah only made it worse by telling everyone she knew in order to try and get support. That basically doubled the problems as both of them lost all their friends over the situation. And so many people I don't know messaged me that I never gave my contact details to. I have no idea how they got them, but it doesn't really matter anymore. Now that my son has left, people have simmered down about it. I managed to get most of the extended family to take down their social media posts about Jake within the first week or two, but by then, the damage had already been done anyway. I put out the word asking people to remove any posts made about the situation and essentially begging them to just let this end. I didn't want to be in the spotlight. I just wanted things to go back to normal, but the escalation by both Jake and Sarah only made things worse. Also, some wondered about the guy who recognized Jake in a bar and started a conflict with him. I've heard he was a neighbor of one of Jake's former friends, so it's no surprise he knew what Jake looked like if that really is the case. And yes, despite my age, I do enjoy some old video games. I don't own any of the old consoles anymore, but I keep some of the games I loved when I was young as ROMs to play on my PC. They're a good way to unwind once in a while. Neither of my kids have had an interest in these old games, and my wife never cared for them either, so it was pretty much just me that likes them. But I don't play them frequently anyway. I play through Dragon Warrior once or twice a year at most, and I usually fast play it with cheat codes because I'm not a skilled player, never have been. Even used the old Game Genie back in the day. Update. Mini update. December 18th, 2022. My son was a gold digger too? I did not expect to make another post on this account ever again, let alone one so soon after what was supposed to be my final update, but I was recently messaged by someone on social media using a burner account that said they had some extra details on Jake and Sarah that I didn't know. They wouldn't say who they are, other than the fact that they were someone close to Sarah. I was just hoping to put a bookend to this situation, and then here comes someone anonymous playing the deep-throat informant, so I can't confirm or deny any of this information I got from them. From what they told me, apparently Sarah's parents are loaded. Well, the person stated my son Jake was only still with Sarah despite her being abusive and crazy because her parents are wealthy. Meaning he was also acting like a gold digger. They said that he needed as impressive of a ring as possible to woo Sarah with. I'm not sure I want to believe it, but it feels like it makes sense on some level. If Jake wanted to marry into wealth, then a lot of his behavior as of late really seems to fit the situation now. I can't say if all of what was said is actually true, but if it is, it would mean that my son never really loved Sarah, and it was all about money. Isn't it always these days? But in the end, I'm not sure it would have panned out the way Jake wanted. The person who messaged me said that Sarah was the black sheep of her family, a spoiled brat with endless demands, which is why her parents sent her to live out here to work a job and have a taste of real life. She was apparently extremely pissed off at them for not bankrolling her life anymore. The person messaging me says that Sarah figured that if she got married, her parents would accept her back, but she had such a high maintenance standard for potential partners that she couldn't hold one for long. Jake was the last in a line of several. She only started dating Jake because he had his own condo. So it was kind of a two-way gold digger situation with Jake hoping to make bank by marrying her and her hoping to get married so she could get back into her parents' pockets. I have a hard time wrapping my head around this. All of that kind of calls into question Sarah's parents saying she was once a good kid. Maybe she was, and then went crazy in her teens or something. I don't know. This could just be someone yanking my chain for fun, or it's possibly the whole reason my son tried to rush into marrying Sarah. Either way, it's left me with some more questions about my son than ever, but he isn't here to answer them anymore, so I'm just distraught about the whole situation. My daughter Amber said that she believes what this person told me, and that Jake has acted like he wanted to be rich ever since he inherited money from his mother after she passed. I think I'm going to need a day of retro gaming on my PC and some tubs of ice cream. Amber said cherry ice cream would be more fitting than vanilla this time. Not sure if that's some other modern reference I don't understand, but I think I just need a mental break. I'd like to take a vacation to the coast. I don't have the time right now, but maybe in the spring. I am beyond seriously hoping this is the last post. Last update I have to post. I just want to be done with the situation. I'm going to be having Christmas without my son for the first time in 20 years. It's even sadder that my wife is gone too. Just me and my daughter now. At least my wife's extended family are very supportive and we'll be seeing them soon on Christmas Eve. If I have to read the phrase gold digger one more time, I am actually going to scream. I am so tired of it. Oh my god. I also know that you guys don't like when I do this, but I'm like 50-50 on whether or not some of the aspects in this story are just dramatized or exaggerated for the sake of just extra attention. Like perhaps the first parts of it were, super truthful, and then as things went on, OP enjoyed the attention, and it kind of just spiraled. I do think the son moved away. I think the condo was definitely sold. I wouldn't be surprised if he called the cops. But some of the incidents in public and the cops knowing about the ring, I am skeptical about those. I hope for obvious reasons. I know that information spreads fast in a town. I mean, hell, one of the girls that I worked with when I was working in fast food literally showed up on the news because a video that she made of her abusing her dog went viral. And it was like oh, cool. I worked with her. And I'm not surprised she does that because she was really mean to me. And unfortunately, because she was named after a city, specifically one in the UK, it's really hard to actually Google the original story for it because, it's just been lost to time, so that's kind of cool. But, I do know that information can spread pretty quickly in a town about stuff like that. I do wonder how much of the son's inability to talk with the father about just everything collapsing is just due to pride. Because at some point, you do have to realize, wow, I really fucked up here. Literally, not a single person is on my side, and everyone's not really wanting to talk to me anymore. Maybe I am in the wrong. But I wonder if there's an aspect of pride and shame that's holding him back from actually having those conversations, and has just decided to, run away from it all. What do y'all think? What's y'all's opinion on this story? I, for one, cannot believe that when I came back from vacation, this is how long the video ended up being. God fucking damn it. Oh boy, it's an outro that's not pre-recorded. That means the vacation is over. Unfortunately. I was actually really enjoying my time off there. The whole Gamer Subs Christmas in July thing is still going on, by the way. So if you want to use code ODDS at checkout and get some tubs and some free stuff to slap on top of that. That's still going. So hey. Now, on another kind of softer, fun note, my buddy Damien, you might know him from MK, is starting up his own kind of channel similar to this one called Dealy Plus. I'll try to have a little channel icon appear in the outro or put it in the description or something, but be sure if you like this style of content and enjoy, well, if you enjoyed the stream he and I did together and want to see more of that, then definitely go show him some love. Tell him the worm sent ya.